Go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our final Winter Streak workshop of this year. We're glad you could all be here with us this evening. I have just a few housekeeping items for everybody before we get started. If you haven't already, please put your first and last name into the chat. That way you will get credit towards attending this evening's workshop, which will earn you an entry towards our giveaways. My name is Jen Gasly, and I am here with Becca Hamner, and we are Community Health Coordinators for WellSpan Health, and also the lead for the Winter Streak Wellness Program. This workshop is being recorded, and it will be available to view on Friday afternoon. We will also email it to all of you, as well as a survey will be with that email that we ask if you could please complete. If you do complete the survey, that will also give you an extra entry towards our giveaways as well. If you think of any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat as the presentation goes on, and we will answer any questions at the end of the presentation. And I will now pass this over to Becca to introduce our presenters for today's cooking demo. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. So I'm honored to introduce Amy Watson and Juan Sanchez, who will be leading our cooking demo today and making ripe plantain casserole. Starting with Amy, Amy has been working for WellSpan for the past 13 years. She started out in corporate wellness and is currently an outpatient cardiac rehab dietitian and national board certified health and wellness coach. She enjoys connecting with patients about their nutrition plan and likes to explore other dimensions of wellness that are important to them. Additionally, she likes teaching nutrition and wellness classes and doing cooking demos such as today's workshop. Outside of work, Amy loves spending time with her adult daughter and 2 cats. Moreover, her biggest hobby is riding scooters, and over the past 7 years, she has ridden over 30,000 miles on beautiful back roads through 7 different states. Moving on to Juan. Juan is a proud Dominican Republic native who currently works for WellSpan Health as a community outreach coordinator for the Health Disparities and Community Engagement Department. Juan brings passion and dedication to both his academic pursuits and community involvement. After completing 2 years of medical school, Juan transferred to Penn State Harrisburg, where he is currently working toward a clinical psychology degree and set to graduate in 2026. A resident of York County, he serves as a board member of Latinos Unidos of York, advocating for Latino communities. Juan is an avid sports enthusiast, enjoying baseball, football, soccer, and boxing, and never misses a chance to cheer on his favorite teams. With a deep love for Dominican cuisine, Juan stays connected to his cultural roots and his vibrant and dynamic life. And now I'll hand it over to Amy and Juan.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Amy.
And my name is Juan.
All right, and today we're making a really great treat. We're very excited about it. So Juan, tell us a little bit about what we're making and why we chose it.
Yeah, sure. So we're making the ripe plantain casserole, and in my country, the Dominican Republic, we know it as pastelón de plátano maduro. So it's something that we decided to do because it's like a cornerstone of Dominican cuisine, and it's a plate that you can enjoy with family. It's like a comfort food, and it's really good.
Great. And a lot of you are probably wondering, well, what's a plantain? I know for me, I'm really learning more about them as we do this cooking demo. So plantains look a lot like a banana, and they have different stages of ripeness. So kind of like a banana, they start out green, and then they progress to the yellow with some black spots, and then eventually it'll turn completely black, and then that's when they're at their sweetest. You should really never eat a raw plantain like we would eat a raw banana because they tend to be super starchy and you could really get a stomach ache. And so they're really meant to be cooked. So what, boiled, roasted, fried, baked? Yeah.
It's a very versatile type of vegetable because you can do it you can either fry it, you can do a mangú, is what we call in the Dominican Republic, where you smash green plantains and you can enjoy it with different like eggs and different meats. So it's something that is very versatile to do and very cheap as well as costly wise. Is a very good option.
Great. All right, and Juan taught me a neat trick. So unlike a banana that's very easy to peel, these are just a tad bit trickier. So basically what you do is you just kind of cut off the ends, make sure you have a sharp knife, and then you're just going to be very careful and score it. So I'm going to do it on each side. So just kind of putting the cuts into the peel. Okay, and then one more. Great, and then I'm just gonna kind of put my finger underneath, and then there we go. It peels right off.
And you're becoming an expert now.
I am. And thanks to you teaching me a new skill today. Very fun and very easy.
Sure.
So there you go. But again, you don't want to eat this raw. Okay, so just to let you know what we already did in advance, because we're on a timeline here today, we actually peeled some plantains and cut them down. And what we did is we put them in some water over there. So we boiled them because we want to get them fork tender. So they're already ready to go. So if you're doing this at home, that's probably one of the first things you'd want to do is boil the plantains. Okay, so now what we're going to do next is we're going to start sauteing some vegetables. To do that, we have to turn on the stovetop, which has a fan. So it gets a little loud. So Juan and I are going to do our best to project over that. But if you can't hear, please let them know. And then Sandy behind the camera is going to say, hey guys, project. Okay, so go ahead and fire up the stovetop. And then I have some onions and some red peppers I'm going to dice up here. And then the first thing we'll do, we're using a non-stick pan, and we're going to use some olive oil first. So olive oil is a very heart healthy oil. You could also use avocado oil, that would work as well. Both have a really great flavor. So Juan, I'm going to give you the olive oil, and then I'm going to finish cutting up, oops, the red, losing my onion. All right, so let me just see if I can put that back together. There we go. Just to make it faster. So you can really use any onion that you'd like. We like to use red. And red with the red skin, you actually get a little bit more nutritional value because it's higher in antioxidants, which is great for our heart health. So I'm just gonna kind of just make little small cuts here.
And I don't know about you, Amy, but I really enjoy onions. Something that I would like to add a lot of in
Yes.
any of my dishes, especially
Yes.
seafood onions.
I love them too. In fact, this recipe just calls for one onion, but if I was doing this at home, I would probably use two.
Yeah.
Because you can just never have enough onions. All right, so we almost have these cut up.
Okay, so I'm gonna add the oil now. That right there.
So these are ready, and do you want to bring out some utensils here? All right, there we go.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, so Juan's gonna start to put in the onions while I finish cutting up the red pepper. And again, you have options. You could certainly do green pepper, you could do yellow or orange. It's really your preference. I like red, it gives it nice color, but it also has the most nutritional value because it's the ripest of all peppers. So you're going to get some vitamin C and vitamin A. And I love the sweetness. And you are what you eat, right? So we're sweet when we eat this.
That's right.
I'm cutting this up.
Gonna add peppers now.
And one thing, I just learned this, I never really thought about this before, but I saw a friend doing it last summer. And when she was cutting up her peppers, she was not taking the time to get rid of the seeds. And it hit me, well, that's less work. And it's not harmful to actually eat the seeds, and it gives you more fiber. The only time it might be of concern is if you struggle with diverticulosis or diverticulitis. So you don't want those seeds getting stuck in those little sacs in your colon. So that would be my only concern, but if you really want to keep the seeds in, go for it. So we're gonna cook this until it becomes tender. So we're gonna do that for a few minutes here. I wanted to kind of go back talking about oils because we talked about using olive or avocado oil. But I also want to let you know that the media was talking about the hateful eight. And basically what they were saying is that, watch out for peanut oil, soybean, canola, safflower. There's a few more, rapeseed, cottonseed, I'm forgetting a few. But anyway, they're saying that they're very harmful, but that's really not 100% true. So we need those oils in small amounts. So if you cook with them, no problem. But the big problem is a lot of those oils are found in the processed foods that we eat. So packaged snacks and crackers and baked goods. So if we're eating too many of the processed foods, it no longer becomes healthy. So don't be afraid to use some canola oil. That seems to be one of the most popular ones out of the hateful eight that they're talking about. So that's completely fine in cooking. Just watch the process, packaged foods. I'm smelling it. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, it smells so good. I wish you guys were here.
Yes.
Really good.
All right. And then we're going to add some garlic next. So we're using minced garlic, but if you don't have that on hand, you could certainly use garlic powder. But I recommend using the powder instead of the salt. Because with me being a cardiac dietitian, we really wanted this to be heart healthy. And so I looked at the recipe and we modified it to make sure it didn't have that unhealthy saturated fat and not too much sodium.
All right.
Okay. Next, we're going to add just a little bit of salt and then some black pepper.
I spread it evenly on top of the veggies and then do the same with the pepper. Just helps with mixing everything together.
And while Juan's mixing that up, we actually made another casserole in advance so we could show you what the final product looks like out of the oven. So I am going to just pop that in so we can melt the cheese. And then while I'm doing that, Juan's going to add the next ingredient, which is cilantro.
Cilantro. You'll never go wrong with cilantro. Cilantro adds like a little Caribbean taste to any dish that you would like to add the cilantro to. But this recipe has the option of alternative to use parsley if you prefer parsley and if you don't like the taste of cilantro.
Some people talk about that soapy taste of cilantro. That's actually a genetic thing. So some people, it just doesn't matter what they do, it's always going to taste soapy. So like Juan said, parsley is an option, or if you don't like either, just completely leave it out. All right, next ingredient. We're going to do some very lean ground turkey. The original recipe calls for ground beef, but again, to keep it heart healthy, we're going for a leaner meat. So ground turkey works really well. Ground chicken is an option. But every now and then, if you want to do ground beef, just make sure it's the leanest kind that you can get. But even lean red meat can still be risky if you eat too much of it. So it can be bad for your heart health, and then also it could increase our risk for certain cancers. You can also choose to do completely vegetarian. So we started with red peppers and onions, but you could also add some peas, potatoes, carrots, maybe even some eggplant. You could even throw in some lentils too to make it completely vegetarian. So what's great about this dish is you have a lot of different options and can vary it every time you make it. Looking good.
Yep.
And then we're going to add some tomato sauce. So just 1 cup of tomato sauce. A little goes a long way. Another healthy dose of vitamin C.
And it also adds a beautiful color to your turkey, your ground turkey. Makes it look so good and tastes good too.
Absolutely. So one's just making sure that the ground turkey is cooked and just blending all the flavors together and making sure everything is heated up. It's really a very quick process. The longest thing really is just cooking those plantains in advance. But remember my tip, if you cut down the plantains in smaller bite sections, it's gonna cook a lot faster. Like if you're making potato salad, the smaller the chunks, the quicker the potatoes are gonna cook in that water. Looking good.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so now I think we can turn off the oven, so then we're not gonna have that loud noise competing with us.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna start removing our cooked plantains.
Then set it aside.
So we're gonna put all the drained plantains into a bowl, and then we're gonna mash them down. So you could use a hand masher, like a potato masher, you could put it in a food processor, or if you just have a big metal spoon, they're gonna be soft enough since they're fork tender that you can even mash it with just a big spoon. So you have some options there as far as how you want to do that process.
Right.
And I don't know if you can see it, like if we lift the bowl up, but it has a really nice yellow color too. Oops, I thought we were gonna lose them. Oops, yellow color to them. So I'm gonna hand over the masher.
Yep.
All right. And then, well, one is mashing. I'm just gonna prepare our baking dish. Now, technically, this recipe is big enough that you could put it in a larger dish, like a 9x13. But we have a small stovetop oven, so we're not gonna be using all the ingredients today, and we're just gonna do a smaller version. So we're gonna use just this square. And what is this? 8 inches, you think? Oh yeah, it says right here, 8.5 by 8.5 is what we're doing today. And I'm just gonna spray it with some cooking spray, so nothing sticks. All right, and then we're gonna add some olive oil. So this was another adjustment I made. It usually calls for butter, but we want to reduce that saturated fat because we believe saturated fat is very unhealthy for our heart and increases our risk for heart disease. So we switched to olive oil. And just like in the beginning when we were sauteing with a little olive oil, you could also decide to use avocado oil too.
And what I do is I just use like, well, half of it and keep on smashing the plantains. And then I use the rest of it so that it gives me this smooth texture. I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna show the camera.
And I'm curious if any of you out there have actually cooked with plantains before. If you did, go ahead and make a comment in the chat. I'd love to hear what you made or how you like them. For a lot of people, this is new, and so I'm really excited Juan had this idea to introduce us to something different, a new ingredient.
Yeah, this is part of my culture and something that reminds me to when I was a kid back in Dominican Republic. This is one of my favorite dishes in Dominican cuisine.
Now, when you go to the store, and you can get plantains anywhere. I picked some up just at our local Giants. Where do you get your plantains?
So my plantains, I got them from Walmart, but you can get them at local Caribbean stores like we have Seatown here in New York. We also have Price Right. So there's many places where you can find plantains. These recipes for it demands ripe plantains, but you can find plantains that are green and just set them aside for maybe like a week or two, and they will ripen. Right, I think we're
Excellent.
ready to start our first layer.
Great. So it's kind of like a lasagna. And you can layer it any way you'd like.
I like to call it a Caribbean lasagna. So you just do kind of like a thin layer at the bottom, not too thin, because you want to make sure that you have something to grab to once you get your portion. Okay. But you also want to make sure that you have enough left for when you build your last layer. Right? I think that's good enough.
And you can see already just how quick and easy this is to assemble, and we made it heart healthy. And the other thing too, Juan was doing a little bit of a pricing, just to get an idea of what this might cost to make. And so what did you come up with?
So it's around, so this pie dish will be around $15 to $20, because the most expensive thing out of all the ingredients is the turkey, and you can get a pound of turkey for like what, $7?
Yeah,
$7.
about that, yeah.
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 So my next layer will be the ground turkey. Gonna grab some turkey.
And this makes a great meal all by itself. But you could also pair it with something. Now, plantains, they have a lot of great nutrition, high in fiber, high in potassium. But since this is the main part of the meal, I would just pair it with something that's lower in carbohydrates. So doing like a tossed salad or some sort of a roasted or grilled vegetable that's non-starchy. That would just be a great side dish to this casserole. All right, then take a peek at our other casserole in the oven. Looking good so far. It doesn't take long. So basically, once we have everything assembled, you really just need to put it in the oven long enough to get the cheese melted, because all the other ingredients have been staying hot enough. So it's not like lasagna where you might have to cook it for 30 minutes or longer. It's really actually pretty quick. All right, and then we need another layer of plantains. All right.
Last layer of plantains. So just have to do it the best you can. So you don't have like a solid platform to do your plantain. Just do it as you can.
If you've never eaten a plantain before, it's a little hard to describe what it tastes like, but it's pretty neutral. So there's a little bit of sweetness to it, but not overly sweet because we didn't use the black plantains in this recipe. But it kind of takes on the texture similar to a potato, but it doesn't taste like a potato. But a little starchy. I don't know how else. Would I add anything else into that? Does that sound about right?
Sweet.
Little sweet, just
Yeah.
a little sweetness,
Just a
but
little
not
sweet.
overly.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just, it works really well with the other ingredients.
And the cheese is gonna be the thing that is gonna be solidifying everything together, so that when you're able to just cut out your portions, you'll have more like a similar texture to lasagna.
And another thing you can switch up is the type of cheese you use. Again, we're trying to keep that saturated fat content low, so we went for a reduced fat cheddar cheese. But another good cheese that's a little bit lower fat, you could do a part skim mozzarella or provolone. That would help cut down on the saturated fat as well. That's the one thing is in the American diet, the biggest source of saturated fat comes from cheese. So we do really need to be careful of how much cheese that we eat, but it's not off limits altogether because there's other important nutrients in cheese. But we just decided we're going to go for the cheddar. So that's the final ingredient.
What you wanna do is spread it out evenly.
Great.
Right.
Easy peasy. So then we would just bake it until the cheese melts, and then that's it. So I'm going to check and see if our other pie is ready to go.
Yes, that is ready.
It looks good. So the cheese is melted, and you can, get a little brown on top if you like the golden crusty brown. So that is ready to go. So I'll just try to cut a little piece. Now, ideally, you would want to let this set for about 5 or 10 minutes, kind of like lasagna. So it might, just so it kind of stays together a little bit easier. Be careful, don't want to get burned. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty good. So always that first piece is the hardest.
Yeah.
But again, we cut it right away, but once you let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, it's gonna hold its shape a lot better. So just to kind of give you a feel for how it might look, oops, down, here we go. Just don't want it to fall off the plate. So you see those little layers, but again, you could do even more layers, plantain, meat, cheese, you can really vary it any way you would like. But it is absolutely delicious and nutritious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So there you have it. That's the plantain casserole. And I love, you gotta say it one more time because it just sounds so fancy.
It's pastelón de plátano maduro.
I love it. So does anybody have any questions for us tonight?
So I'm looking in the chat, but you did mention earlier how to have other people made plantains before. So we have some examples in here. Someone said they boil it with cinnamon or they fry it. So a casserole was a new idea for them. And then looking out some other ideas. A lot of people said they love cilantro, so they're loving that we added that. Someone said they've cooked and fried plantains before, but never prepared them this way. Someone says they love eating them at a Jamaican restaurant, but never had them with cheese. And I don't know, but I love cheese, so I'm excited for that. Someone's had plantain chips.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of different ways of incorporating them, but a lot of people looking forward to a new idea.
Nice.
Becca, and I have to mention that in Puerto Rican cuisine, they usually use the fried plantain kind of way. So this is a little different, but both ways are amazing. I really love the fried plantain casserole.
Someone said they also cook all plants and imagine this would be wonderful with black or pinto beans, so they're really happy with these ideas. Everyone's saying it looks delicious. And like we said, we could make it with different kinds of meat. So I believe the picture behind is made with beef, as is the traditional recipe, but we said we made this one heart healthier with turkey meat. Amy, could it also be made with chicken, possibly ground chicken?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also a heart healthy side dish would be like a garden salad, kind of like if you're eating lasagna. So yeah.
Awesome. I don't see any questions in here. If anyone throws them in, we'll go over them. But I think Jen has a special surprise for everybody, so I will punt it her way.
All right, I do. So this is our final workshop, and as a special surprise, I've put all of your names into a wheel, and we're going to draw a name for a giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can everybody see the wheel?
Give it 1 second. There we go. Perfect.
All right, here we go. All right, Crystal, are you still on the workshop with us?
Yeah.
Oh, yay! Well, congratulations.
Thank
Crystal,
you.
you're welcome.
I'm surprised.
I will reach out to you with the email that you registered with just to get your information how to get that prize to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for everyone who didn't get a prize tonight, keep in mind there are still chances to win prizes. There's at least one for each county that will be pulled, as well as an overall grand prize. So there's still chances to win left.
Well, I just want to say special thank you again to Juan and Amy, and also to our behind the scenes professional videographer, Sandy Gladfelter, making this all possible. So thank you. Thank you all. This is our final Winter Streak workshop. but we are excited, to once again host in 2026. So please, if you have any ideas on future workshops that you would like to see, recipe ideas, feel free to send them to us. I will be sending the recipe from today's cooking demo along with the email that I mentioned earlier on this presentation. So thank you all for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.